Hi there, it's Llarold. Today I'm going to talk about patch 10.1. Before I do, patch 10.0.7 has a release date now, March 21st in the Western Hemisphere and March 22nd in the Eastern Hemisphere. Hello to everyone watching from the future. It's a really big patch despite being a 0.7 patch, and you can check out the video we put out earlier this week about patch 10.0.7 if you want more details about everything that's coming in a week and a half. Now for the main event. Patch 10.1 was announced a couple of days ago, and the 10.1 PTR went up the next day. I'll start with the biggest news first, cross-faction guilds. I never thought it would happen, but I'm really happy that it is. Blizzard has said they're potentially going to be iterating on this over time, but the basic concept of playing both factions on one server and having both Alliance and Horde characters in the same guild, wearing the same guild tag, guild tabard, being able to talk in guild chat and use the guild bank and so on is all really cool. I'm very happy about this. I never thought it would happen. Then when Blizzard started teasing it, I thought it would be something they would just tease us with for years and maybe never deliver. But here it is, way sooner than I could have even hoped. Alliance and Horde, hanging out, being friends, fighting dragons. That's fantastic. And on that note, we have a new zone to explore and quest around in, opened up by one of the dragons that Raszageth set free from the Vault of the Incarnates, the Zaralek Cavern. In patch 10.1, there's now a giant hole in the ground west of Valdrakken, and that's where we enter the Zaralek Cavern. You just fly right into the ground. Zaralek Cavern is a little reminiscent of Deepholm, the underground cataclysm zone, but it has tons of new architecture and tons of lava. It's a totally new zone, just a really big cave with a lot of different biomes inside it. It's pretty densely packed with quests and rares, and there's tons of stuff to do here, just like you would expect from a new zone. You'll also be able to use Dragonriding here from day one, so if, like me, you were concerned that maybe Blizzard would get cold feet about letting us fly everywhere and go back to the old inconvenient ways of forcing us onto ground mounts, there's no need to fear, we're still flying. I had wanted to get tons of footage of flying around this new zone because while the quest lines for it aren't testable yet, the zone is open, and it looks really cool. Unfortunately, the PTR is bugged and you can't copy over account data, which means that when I copy over characters, they don't have any Dragonriding sigils unlocked. My Monk's Dragonriding panel shows that I'm at -48 sigils, so I can't even press the spacebar to flap my wings and fly up. I get a red error message saying I haven't learned that ability yet. I tried to just sort of fall and glide into the cavern, and that caused me to chain together crit errors, so no footage on the Monk. My warrior can at least fly around a little bit, but without any Dragonriding skills at all, it's kind of slow. That's okay, PTRs are supposed to be buggy, and this isn't the complaint department. I'll just try again with the next PTR build, and I'm sure things will be better. On the subject of Dragonriding, there will be new Dragonriding sigils to collect and a new power to unlock in this patch. It's called ground skimming, and it causes you to regenerate vigor when you are slowly floating above the ground, as in not zooming through the air with Thrill of the Skies active, but just kind of drifting along like you're slowly gliding through Valdrakken between the crafting tables. Ground skimming has 2 ranks, and the second rank just makes it so that you regenerate vigor faster while slowly drifting along. This is cool, it's not game-changing, but it is a good quality of life upgrade that's useful for everyone. Blizzard's also adding in a new Dragonriding Drake, the Winding Slither Drake. He's a long, slithery boy, and I think he's great. With a new zone comes a new reputation, and the new reputation in Zaralek Cavern is the Niffen, a group of mole people. They use the same renown track and reward structure that the other reputations have used in Dragonflight. I think this system's worked super well now that it's separated from the reward structure of Shadowlands, and I'm totally on board with seeing it carried forward. It provides a much more consistent reward for your time than the old model of Friendly, Honored, Revered, Exalted, where you could be grinding for weeks or even months at a time in between ranking up your reputation. The Niffen have a couple of activities associated with them, cave diving and snail racing. Those both sound pretty fun and pretty cute, and I'm sure we'll get more information on them as the patch gets closer. I like the Niffen a lot. They're cute little mole people, and they're friends with the Drogbar, who are returning from Legion. I miss those guys. The new raid for patch 10.1 is Aberrus, the shadowed Crucible. Much like Zaralek Caverns, it's definitely influenced by Cataclysm areas like Blackwing Descent, but it also has a lot of cool new architecture. It's got lava, of course, it's got dragon experiments, and it has a boss who I'm not going to spoil out loud, but I will show a picture of him because I'm very excited about it. So, avert your gaze in 3, 2, 1, and now he's gone and you can open your eyes again. Cool, right? Blizzard's previewed the tier sets, and I'm gonna show those off. They all look really good, especially the Priest set. It's pretty incredible. The dungeon journal for this raid is up already, so you can log onto the PTR and take a first look at some of the boss abilities if you like. They're not all there, but you can look at what is. It's a 9-boss raid, which is a pretty great size. And like Vault of the Incarnates, Blizzard is doing a simultaneous release of all the difficulties. I was kind of upset about this with Vault of the Incarnates, but I'm fine with it now. Simultaneous release is harder on high-end raiders, but it's better for the community as a whole, especially the Mythic Plus community not having an artificial cap on how good they can make their gear in week 1. I think it's a good thing overall for the game. You know, whatever, it's cool. Blizzard makes the game, I play it, that's pretty much it. Now let's get into the huge Mythic Plus changes Blizzard has planned for patch 10.1. First off, the dungeon pool will be changed to include the 4 Dragonflight dungeons that weren't in the Season 1 pool, and those are now Theros, Halls of Infusion, Brackenhide Hollow, and Uldaman Legacy of Tyr. The other 4 older dungeons are going to be Freehold from BFA, the Underrot also from BFA, Neltharion's Lair from Legion, and Vortex Pinnacle from Cataclysm. The inclusion of Vortex Pinnacle is still a massive shock to me. Blizzard had previously said that Mists of Pandaria was probably their cutoff for old dungeons, and nothing before that would be probably getting considered or brought forward into Mythic Plus. So this is very surprising. I mean, they did give the probably cop out, but it's a shock. I like Vortex Pinnacle quite a lot. There are some pretty tough pulls in that dungeon, and I think it could be pretty challenging, but also a lot of fun. As for the other dungeons, Blizzard has said they're taking a look at the Dragonflight ones and tuning them down to make sure they're in line with where the Season 1 dungeons are now, and that's good. When I think about how tough Brackenhide Hollow was as a Mythic 0 dungeon in the early weeks of the expansion, it could be a very scary Mythic Plus dungeon if it doesn't get nerfed before it comes out. I'm extremely happy about the return of Freehold as well. That's a humongous community favorite. I think probably the most popular dungeon to bring back, and a very obvious choice. The Underrot is definitely not one of my favorite dungeons from BFA. I would have been fine never going back there again, but at least it's not Toldagor or Wakecrest Manor. Those places are worse. I did really want to see Mythic Plus Stormstout Brewery from Mists of Pandaria be in Season 2 of Dragonflight, but there's still hope for Season 3. I'm really happy with this dungeon pool, and I'm very excited about Season 2 of Mythic Plus and Dragonflight. The main reason for that is this: there will be no seasonal affix in Season 2. None at all. Thundering was horrible when it first came out. After about a month, it got some tweaks to make it a lot more manageable, but in general, it hurts more than it helps, and that's been true of most seasonal affixes. Being able to build your own routes through dungeons in Season 4 of BFA was awesome. I think we can all agree on that, but most of the time, seasonal affixes are more negative than positive. Blizzard's reasoning for why they aren't adding a seasonal affix in Season 2 is also pretty sound, I think. Essentially, they've said that the reason they came up with the idea in the first place was to add variety into dungeons that players were going to be doing for 2 straight years or more. They were worried that players would get bored without seasonal affixes to spice things up, and they were right. Now that the dungeon pool is changing with every season, that's not really necessary. Again, I agree. Now, just speaking personally, I would rather they got rid of Tyrannical and Fortified. I think that distinction is very boring, but Blizzard seems to view it as a cornerstone of the whole system, so I think I'm just never going to get what I want on that one. And again, it's okay. They make the game, I play it. But Blizzard's not done with this either. They're going to revisit the level 7 affix bucket, which contains Quaking, boring, Grievous, boring, Volcanic, boring, Storming, annoying, and Explosive, hectic, and try to make that a little bit more interesting overall. I think this most likely means they're just gonna remove Grievous and rework Quaking and maybe move some of the level 4 affixes into the level 7 pool, but we'll see as the patch progresses on the PTR. I would definitely be in favor of removing Grievous. Like I said, it's boring. When you take damage, you take more damage. That's lame. Finally, let's talk about gear. Blizzard has a major revamp for the way that gear upgrading works in patch 10.1. I'll just go over the brief version for now and post a link to the longer form version of this if you want to read it, along with a link to the patch 10.1 PTR patch notes for anyone who wants to get even more details. The main thing to emphasize here is that this replaces the Valor and Mythic Plus score system as your method of upgrading gear, and it extends way beyond that system of just upgrading gear from Mythic Plus dungeons. Basically, Blizzard is consolidating all gear upgrade systems into 2 currencies, Flight Stones and Crests. You get Flight Stones from pretty much everything you do, World Quests, Mythic Plus dungeons, raid bosses, rare mobs, you name it, it gives Flight Stones. And you get Crests from the same sources, but they are less common, and unlike Flight Stones, there's a weekly cap of 10 Crests of each tier per character. There are also tiers. 4 different tiers for crests, basically 1 of each for rating. So, LFR, normal, heroic, and mythic. These are what limit your maximum ability to upgrade items, rather than the old Mythic Plus score system. You can upgrade almost any gear in the game with Flight Stones and Crests, whether it's from a LFR raid or a Mythic Plus 10 or a World Quest. You can upgrade it. And you can upgrade it all to Mythic Raid item level provided you have enough of the 2 currencies, Flight Stones and Crests. This won't apply to PvP gear upgrading, they're keeping that the same as it's been, and it won't apply to upgrading crafted gear, that's going to be the recrafting system, but enchanters are able to convert crests that you have into upgrade items for crafted gear. That's still in the early stages of being worked out though. I think this is all really great, and Blizzard has already put some really good quality of life into this system from the very beginning, so that players don't feel punished for, say, upgrading the wrong items. Here's an example from Blizzard's post on the subject. Example, Vindicator Boros wants to upgrade his new 2-handed mace. It's item level 408, but he already has a 2-handed sword that's item level 415. Upgrading his new mace from 408 to 415 will cost him half the usual Flight Stones and no Shadow Flame Crests. If he wants to upgrade it further to eye level 418, it'll cost him a Drake's Shadow Flame Crest and the usual amount of Flight Stones. I think this is fantastic. It's a massive quality of life improvement for everyone who plays the game, whether you're a high level raider, a Mythic Pluser, a casual outdoor player, or anything in between. Having a unified system for improving your gear and just getting your characters to be stronger is really good for the game. I hope this is going to become a staple of the way the game is constructed in future patches and expansions, because I think it's great. Patch 10.1 is looking pretty awesome and pretty groundbreaking. It's hard to know what I'm most excited about. It should be cross-faction guilds, that's such a massive change, but the Mythic Plus changes and the new gear upgrade system are really amazing as well. The new zone and the mole people are pretty cool too. I can't wait. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.